daughter to Chris and Missy. I was an English major in college and then an English teacher. I wrote an essay, because that's what we do. And I titled it, because that's what you do. So, called Duty Stations. There are two gifts we should give our children. One is roots, the other is wings. An anonymous quote from the militarywifeandmom.com website. And I believe my parents did that. Growing up a military kid, moving every 3 to 4 years, as my parents did, definitely gave me both roots and wings. As I remember the catalog of memories and adventures in my parents' lives, I think of them in terms of their long journey of officer clubs and base housing, commissaries and Navy exchanges, and naval bases and duty stations. My brothers and I grew up pretty much in the same way as our parents grew up, and you've just heard from Uncle Steve and Uncle Craig about some of the places that they lived. For a time in my life, all I wanted was to live in the same place, same town, same house, for a long period of time. Having to make new friends every few years was quite hard on a shy, awkward girl. However, looking back, it's easy to see that moving all the time to different regions of the country, getting to know new people, adjusting to new schools, and the different cultures around the country provided my brothers and I with some wonderful skills that we only appreciated after we grew up. We were fortunate to spend a lot of time traveling the country from duty station to duty station, becoming each other's best friends, experiencing new and diverse places and people. I believe that this foundation contributed to the love of travel that we all have. The ability to easily talk with and get to know people. The gumption to dive in and try new things and face obstacles as they come. And the understanding that we can't control everything in the world. And sometimes you just have to go with the flow. My life with my mom and dad began shortly after their life began together. They were married in Charleston, South Carolina on October 12th, 1968. So this Thursday, they will be celebrating 55 years together. I came 13 months later in November of '69. Mom and Dad and I were the Three Musketeers for only 12 months before Michael came in 1970. In that short period of time, our duty stations were Texas, Rhode Island, California, as my dad went to various flight schools. While we were stationed in Lemoore, California, my brother John was born on Easter Sunday, April 22nd, 1973. I was planning for candy and an Easter egg hunt, but I'm positive that I was ecstatic when my parents brought home a real baby. In 1977, shortly after moving to our latest duty station, Pax River, Maryland, with a short 1-year stop in Beeville, Texas, 6-year-old Michael thought he could do a backflip off of the top of the swing set in the backyard, and he broke his femur. Within weeks of this, baby brother Peter was born on September 1st. So my parents, they were able to navigate having a young boy in a full body cast that could not leave my parents' bed, a brand new newborn baby, and our new dog Daisy, who showed up. I can't remember if she had already had the puppies or she was about to have puppies, who decided she was going to live with us, whether we liked it or not. So the Anderson family was then complete with the dog, including the dog and the puppies. So over the course of the next 15 years, we traversed the country a couple times, living at a couple California duty stations, Lemoore and Ridgecrest, and then Virginia Beach, Virginia, and finally Orlando, Florida, where my dad retired from the Navy in 1993. My mom especially loved arriving at new duty stations. She was an extreme extrovert and never met a stranger that did not become her friend. She really enjoyed setting up home for our family. I remember, though, one time after we arrived in Virginia Beach, we found that somehow a lot of our furniture was missing or stolen. I don't know. My mom was giddy because she got a check, and Mom and I got to go shopping for a whole new set of living room furniture. She loved new things, new places, new people, new stuff. She loved it. So. Even after my dad retired, he and Mom continued to move to new duty stations every few years. As they made their moves, they dropped kids off along the way. When we lived in Virginia Beach, I went off to college in Colorado, and after leaving Orlando, John and Michael stayed back for college and jobs. Peter went on with Mom and Dad for a second tour of Ridgecrest in 1995, and then also on to Arizona in 97, when my parents transferred to their next duty station. Once we kids were grown and out of the house, Mom started crisscrossing the country each year, back and forth, visiting friends and family. You see, the hard part of leaving an old duty station for a new one is that you have to leave good friends behind. Mom loved her friends and family, and she didn't let moving stop her. Many of you here today have gotten a call or an email letting you know that Missy would be in town and, hey, would you like to meet for lunch somewhere? Our family and friends, our family had friends and family all across the country, and we learned that leaving friends behind does not mean that you have to leave the friendship behind. Eventually, when my dad's new job took him to Fort Worth, Texas, Mom and Dad set up house by themselves for the very first time in more than 30 years, until Barbie and Emil came to live with them. And then Mike and Denise and family moved to Texas. In 2010, my parents moved to Leonardtown, Maryland, where my dad went to work at what would be his final job. He worked for Lockheed Martin and loved it so much that he worked well past the normal retirement age. He even worked through his first bout with cancer, taking time off only for chemo treatments. After the project that he was working on, the weapons integration on the F-35, was finished in 2018, he decided it was time to hang up his Lockheed Polo and retire. Within the next year, Mom and Dad decided that they wanted something new, so they packed up and moved to Virginia Beach, Virginia, which would be Dad's final duty station on Earth. They were able to make a long road trip across the country. They even made it all the way to Oregon to see us, visiting many friends and family along the way, before my dad started to feel unwell and found that his cancer had sadly returned. After a valiant effort, Dad passed away in April of 2021 and arrived at his eternal duty station. Mom stayed in Virginia for a year before she started itching for someplace new. Her health was declining, and we kids thought it would be best for her to live near one of us. Since Arizona was the warmest and most temperate, we kids and Mom chose Gilbert, Arizona as her next duty station. I got to drive my mom across the country last summer on her final road trip. It was fun. Some of you know that's a loaded. We stopped and visited loved ones along the way, and then she arrived in Gilbert in June of 2022. Unfortunately, her health declined quickly. She just really didn't want to be at a duty station without my dad. She passed away peacefully in her sleep, and she and Dad are now together. 3 years ago, my husband and I, we decided to move from Oregon to Illinois for Tim's job. We had been living in the same town in McMinnville, Oregon for 25 years, so I finally got to do that. But when my mom found out that Tim and I were moving across the country for his job, she was so excited, and she said, "Oh, yay, we get to set up a new duty station."